Good morning.
Okay. Hi,
Hey, good morning.
good morning. Houston, we've had technical difficulties, but we just got all fixed up, so we're good. We're good.
It
Oh,
all worked on
oh,
time. It's like in Switzerland.
okay. So, welcome. Let's see who shows up. Today, Paula, always a pleasure to see you. You're my anchor. Very good. Um,
Wouldn't miss it.
wouldn't miss it. Okay. Um, let's see who joins in shortly. And I'm going to adjust my screen a little bit here, get a little bit bigger. A little bit different because oftentimes in these coffee chats, we just kind of hang out. And I like that a lot. That's why it's called a coffee chat. It's not a lesson or tutorial or something. Um, we do get questions submitted sometimes through the Facebook or Instagram or something. So I have a short list of a few questions that I'll do my best to spend some time. I think they're probably interesting overall. But for those of you that are making the time and the effort to be here, of course, I'd like to have the chance to interact with you. So we have a lovely hour. It's as though we're in the terminal in an airport and we're going to be all catching flights in an hour, so we have a block of time. Uh, Off the top, any burning issue? Hi, Robin.
Hi
I'll bet.
there.
Hi.
It's almost my bedtime, so I'm wearing my blue blockers. Um,
I just thought you're cool, you know.
Thanks. So I probably won't stay. I'm hoping there'll be a recording. I'm going
There
to stay
is.
on for part of the time. I have two questions. One is there's it's called the habit rewiring, the 5 minute like beta
That's
and And what I'm there's that, and then there's also something called a section called processing
yep.
for beta. Is it like for the habit rewiring, you would use maybe excessive beta? Let's say I use if I'm feeling anxious or stressed or overthinking, and
Yep.
I would use the habit rewiring. Would I do the processing for that same thing? Or how would I know to do one or the other? That's one of my questions.
Okay. These are lovely, quite large topics, so I'll try to be clear but succinct. Uh,
Okay.
there are lots of different ways to modulate light and sound to get pretty good probabilistic neurological effects. So
Mm-hmm.
the design of certain sessions, for example, like the old mind states, things like focus or creativity, they have a particular neurological design. Then you go
Mm-hmm.
to the microdosing, we're renaming it neurodosing because we had some legal issues in certain countries. The neurodosing, they are a different design. And also in that um, processor category and in the habit busters or the dehabituators, those are different designs. So it's a very fair question. Like, what the hell's going on? And how do I relate to them? Hey, Vladimir, good to see you, buddy. Hey, Vlad, I wanted to reconnect with you since our last one, but we were not successful. So let's make sure that that happens. Remember, we talked about talking more, or at least I did. Anyway, hi, Vlad. We're in the middle of answering a question. The the processors and the dehabituators, or the simpler word, the dehabituators are the habit busters. They're really different sessions with really different designs targeted for different purposes. The habit busters are fantastic. You will note that they're 5 minutes in length. And if you would, or you already have, in the downloaded personal guide, you would see a page, something like that.
Yes.
And because I'm a visual guy, I had this printed out and I look at it once in a while and it helps me remember. So the habit busters come out of discoveries in EEG in general and specifically in neurofeedback. Neurofeedback, you sit there, you got a rig, and you're with somebody, and they say, hey, you're doing this, change it, and you do different things. One of the things that was discovered quite early on is that the things that we call habits or behaviors are not just psychological, they have a strong neurological correlation. Now, chicken or egg, what causes what? Skip that. But they are measurable, they display themselves in EEGs, and these are what are called fixation, fixated frequencies. So the psychological habits oftentimes have quite clear neurological correlates. And you see things like ADHD. Many people that experience that challenge have fixations in the delta and theta bands. People that have more of kind of like a zingy, panicky anxiety thing oftentimes have fixations in the higher beta zones. Now, we have to be careful because it isn't as simple as that, but at least that's one aspect of how it displays itself. The brain is a lot more, we can't just think like this frequency, that frequency. It's like saying in music, oh, B flat or G major, it's a context. So let's be careful we don't oversimplify this and turn into being dumb about it. So in neurofeedback, frequently, and this is given to me from professionals, that when they find these fixated, I call these stuck zones, my favorite thing is how to unstick a stuck brain, that these stuck bands are really tough to move. Habits are like that, good or bad, they resist change. And in generalized neurofeedback, and let's be clear, there are a lot of different styles of neurofeedback, so I'm not trying to say it's one way, but it takes 10 to 20 to 30 sessions to move out of fixation. That's a lot. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of effort. That's a lot of money. So in neurofeedback, there's this developed concept of called multimodal intensive neurofeedback. Multimodal intensive neurofeedback. They say, okay, I'm on this side of the office room. Let's go to the other side of the room to a different machine. And once they see where the fixations are, they use another technical process, sometimes pulse magnetics. Some people are trying microcurrents. We use light and sound. Let's kind of sandblast that area. Let's scramble it up. Let's soften the glue with some other process. And in that way, we can disconnect a person from that habituated process for a short period of time. So the process, and this is all in the personal guide in that section, the concept for us is disconnect, that's the spaghetti sandblaster, disconnect, reconnect, reinforce. Disconnect, reconnect, reinforce. So you don't reconnect them to the same stuff, you connect them after the disconnect to something that is better. For example, to get an ADHD out of like a high delta theta fixation, maybe you want to give them some low beta, like, oh, wow, the kind of thing that is kind of an Adderall effect, but it's actually a retraining. And then periodically you might go into the mind state things and go into like, creativity or focus or some kind of target that you'd like them to go to learn, basically.
Do you always want to, are you saying it's not useful to do the habit rewiring alone? It should always be attached with it.
It's useful because it's a very quick state shift.
Yeah, I like it in and of itself. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a boring guy. I don't do, alcohol, weed, cigarette, whatever. It's like, what do I do when I have a thing? Well, like, I say, what's my shot of tequila, right? What's my thing that's going to bump me a little bit? And so if I'm buzzing and doing the things I do a lot, and it's like, oh, beta, blah, blah. Beta's not bad. Beta's great, but it's like too much of anything. So I'll do the habit buster or the dehabituator for beta, knowing that it just gives me relief. It's like going
Gotcha.
outside and stretching in the sun a little bit. It just pops me out of where I'm not really stuck, but I'm spending a lot of time there. So
Mhm.
that's that one. So yes, you can use them. I'm going to shorten this up. We don't spend an hour on it.
Yeah.
But, the dehabituators or habit busters are best suited to move a person out of an entrenched state, so that, the reason why it kind of excites me. I feel a little bit like pressured by time. I'm sorry. I'll slow down. Take it easy. Thank you. There are many techniques that should work that don't work. Now, whether it's like meditation or some kind of, thought process, or they're just, these things should work, but they don't work. Why? Because the technique has an assumption that the brain is ready, willing, and able to change. Well, the brain is not that way, because the brain could be stuck in a deeply habituated or fixated state. Dumb analogy. I used it the other day. I'm driving my car, got my seatbelt on, cop pulls me over. Hello, leans in. Oh, please step out of the car. And I don't. I'm trying, but I don't. He says, please step out of the car. I get nervous because he's a cop. I didn't do anything wrong. My seatbelt is still fastened. I can't get out. I want to get out. I can't get out. It looks like I'm trying, but why? Because I'm stuck in my seat with the seatbelt. I
Mhm.
have to undo the seatbelt. Then I
I
can
see.
get out.
Yeah.
Okay,
Gotcha.
so that's
Okay.
that. The processors, I'll make it shorter because this is getting long, are different, very different. The processors are built out of EMDR techniques: eye movement desensitization reprocessing, the lateralization, which is something that happens visually. It also happens audio. You can even do it kinesthetically, tapping back and forth. Lateralization seems to reduce the amygdala threshold for emotional response.
Mhm.
But so you can read more about EMDR. That it's a very large section in the personal guide, because I put them in with some reluctance. I was, what's it called? Kind of conflicted, because this is used in relation to a lot of PTSD things. And
Right.
there are people that need a medical or, therapeutic level of this process. And but there are a lot of us, and there are books on self-care with EMDR. So I think,
Well,
okay,
I did this in the other program, the thing, and I found it really useful because I've done EMDR. I'm working
yeah,
on a specific
yeah.
issue, and so but I didn't know that was the same thing. Okay.
Yes, yeah. I read. I'm familiar with the concept, the lateralization, and I read a study in that vein, where they're saying, hey, because you can do it with your finger, or now there are light bars that some people have, where the light goes to,
Yeah.
and the subject follows the light bar. So the thought was, well, hey, um, how about that light is not just constant light? How about if that light is flickering? That the flickering, and the study that I read used alpha. They thought, well, it kind of creates, it's like incense in the room. It helps create a context that makes the EMDR more compatible.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
so the idea is that you have the lateralization of the light, but it isn't just lateralizing, it's actually flickering at a particular rate. And that flicker rate should or could probably help induce a more susceptible experience for the subject. And I look at that, I said, well, okay, I mean, I can make that. And I did. And I thought, well, but maybe alpha is not the only conducive state for every person. Maybe some need to calm down, get a little dreamy, or like a theta thing. Some go like a deep relaxation because they fight this shit all the time, maybe a delta. And what about, beta, people that are low frequency, that they have a hard time engaging? I got let some beta. And then we have, the glorious band leader gamma. So I just made 5 different versions of the lateralization process, each version having a different kind of incense core frequency to help in context.
So you would use the beta for the same thing if you're doing too much thinking, or if you want to ignite that more?
No, it's if that context is positive for the person. Right. If calming down, getting a little bit dreamy because they're so uptight, kind of like a rod up their
That
butt.
would be you'd want to do a delta thing.
Like, yeah, chill out a little bit. Or if they're too drowsy and dopey, like give them a little zing-a-ling, maybe with some of the beta version. Okay, I'm going to stop this because we're already, a quarter of a way through the hour. This is fascinating stuff. And I had push and pull as to put these out into the app because they're quite dynamic.
Yeah.
I would encourage anybody and everybody to download the personal guide and spend some time reading that section. Okay, next, I'm going to go from us to a piece of paper because it's a little bit of an overlap. A person had asked, can you recommend the best programs to get rid of anxiety? Well, I don't know about getting rid, but we certainly have sessions or programs that relate to that. And the concept is the quickie we've already discussed, the habit buster or the dehabituator beta is well suited to interrupt anxiety or even a more intense panic state. That if you can get out of that the zing of a higher beta, you're going to feel better. And to do that and then follow up with something out of the mind states, whether it's relax or something like, you can just use it for a quick state shift, or you can use it more dynamically and disconnect, reconnect, reinforce. I'm seeing on screen, thank you. For anybody that happens to be involved, during these things, we do this flash sale, 20% off if you jump on it. So thank you for that. The brought to you by my sponsor, my company. So hi. So there's that one. Another one I'm going to go to. Maybe this was from you, Robin, about the processor. So we got that.
Okay.
Vlad, this is for you. Would we, the company, be interested in collaborating with more athletes? Well, yes, of course. And Vlad, you're dynamically involved with training and athletes, and I think your processes are quite dynamic. So anyway, okay, let's go back to you. I have a few more questions, but I thought let's try to go between some paper and some people. Dorothy, you're on mute. I don't think you're a talker. Come on, what's up?
Hi. Hi, good morning. In Germany. It's early in the morning.
Yeah, well, thank you for making the effort because we oscillate each month to try to be in the North American time
Yeah,
zone
sure.
this month in the year. So thank you for making the effort.
Yeah, well, yeah, happy to be here.
Okay. Is there anything on your mind?
Well, I'm having a, excuse me, that
Is there
didn't come
anything that
through.
you'd like to ask or talk about? I'm just
Yes. I'm having one question though. It's not directly a question about the NeuroVIZR as visor, but more like a marketing question because I'm the new kid on the block a little bit. I'm a NeuroVIZR ambassador for Germany.
Oh,
And right now, I'm currently considering opening a community, maybe on Facebook or something similar, and bring people together, share insights, create more awareness around the NeuroVIZR. And Mike mentioned that there's already a group, which made me think maybe rather than having multiple scattered groups, maybe it would make sense to join forces, build a single thriving community. And that's just a question what I'm interested in what you think is maybe the best for
I
our NeuroVIZR community.
I love the concept of a community. It's been the thing that's been always attractive.
Yep.
Paula knows this. I love learning, and learning is
Yep.
always best when it's shared.
Yep.
Excitement and the satisfaction. We started a process here with a program called Circle. It's a conventional software platform, and we intended to build a community within that platform because it's quite a
Yeah.
multifaceted software system. Facebook is really nice because you can sort of, flip and slip and scroll
Yeah.
and so on. Circle right now, because of finding informed staff to really coordinate it, it's in neutral. We began it and now it's sitting in neutral. Maybe, speaking to Mike, maybe if it would motivate you, maybe you could help that come alive.
Yeah.
It has like trainings. I've done a whole basic concept training, engage,
Yeah.
enrich, enjoy, did videos, the basic science, I did the prehistoric brain and did videos, and I have all the documents on 20th century, and I did a 55-page, I know, it's 55-page document, the art and science
Yeah.
of first century brain stimulation. So if you'd like, speak to Mike, it would be wonderful
Yeah.
if anybody that has the orientation. Also, of course, it's very effective on the marketing side. To
Yeah.
me, learning and marketing are kind of hand in hand.
Yeah.
I'm a horrible salesman.
Yeah.
I just a teacher and a healer. My problem is I'm just way too honest. So I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Wonderful. That's what I'll do. And
Okay.
I think it's really a good thing for all people who are already using the NeuroVIZR and who are interested
Okay.
in using it and just to get information. So, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. I will.
Paulita,
Thanks.
hi.
Yeah, I just have with Michelle with his Parkinson's,
Yeah.
I've added using some of the neuroathletic programs for him,
Okay.
which are been kind of interesting and effective, like weaving it in with the other ones that I've been using. I just wanted to.
Okay. Yeah. Paula is a very long time friend, decades, and also a past business associate. And she's one of the earliest longtime users of even the prototypical device before the NeuroVIZR. So, I have an affectionate bond with her. And also she speaks of a gentleman who's also a very dear friend of mine and close to her that has Parkinson's, and that the NeuroVIZR has been exhibiting some positive stabilizing effects. If you want to make a comment on it, Paula, that's up to you.
Well, I mean, it just as you know, I'm a strong believer in the whole basic concept of the brain and the neuroplastic qualities of it. And, if you and adapting other aspects of brain function to support or overcome any deficiency, all of that, like really working on that. And we work the whole program in terms of the NeuroVIZR, different types of exercises, diet, I mean, the whole lifestyle approach to support. And he was diagnosed, I want to say maybe about 3.5 years ago now. And he's 70 years old, and he's been pretty stable. And I feel the NeuroVIZR plays a really good part in terms of keeping mental attitude, in a positive, which is very important because it can be very discouraging with the fatigue and the brain, some of the symptoms that he exhibit. And we played around with a lot of the different programs, and it's very, very effective. I encourage people to use it for any kind of cognitive issues, whether it's from chemotherapy or traumatic brain injury or the Parkinson's or, dementia related. I mean, it's been super effective.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's probably clearly evident that the NeuroVIZR, as a consumer non-medical device, the sensitivity from our point of view of making claims that could be pathologically related.
Right, of course.
But we can't and we won't. However, users.
I would share it with the group though and let them know.
Well,
It's me sharing it.
Yes, and it is, and I thank you for that. That's my point, that there's a lot that goes on. One of the questions that I have here was, about what studies have been done with the NeuroVIZR. A few that we are a young company. Studies are at different types and levels. So for example, I'll just hold this up. I'm just finishing here an informal or pilot study. There were volunteers, around 20 people, and this is a progressive, well-established medical device in Russia and many European countries. It's an EKG-based heart rate variability device that is, you clamp it on. It runs with electrical current. Things like the Aura ring and other devices run off of a vascular interpretation. So there's no, when you put on an Aura ring or Fitbits or these are not, clamps with polarized electricity. This Russian device is almost 50 years of development. It's elegant, it's respected, and has been used, deeply in military and industry. So we have that. And after, I was just interested, very simply, a before and after. I have a few other studies that we may or may not talk about that are quite exciting, but we just did this one, and it's a study before and running gamma, and then after the gamma. So very simplistic, kind of observational or pilot study level, and it is highly encouraging. And I pulled 4 out of the 20. These are not cherry picking. These are meant to show typical or average kind of reactions. And we have all the stats. I'll be showing them out and you'll see them, the averaging. But we looked at 4 indices. First of all, just typical HRV. And if you know heart rate variability, more is better. It's a reflection of how adaptable your autonomic nervous system is to demand. So the higher the number, the better. And without going into it, for example, here there was a 17% increase in HRV after 11 minutes, 10% increase. Those are big changes, by the way, 18% increase. And I've got one more here, a 20% increase. So the short-term heart rate variability just pops up, which means the autonomic nervous system is more readily available to make very quick short-term adaptations to challenge. That's really good. And then I have all these others, a little bit complicated, but different measures of the autonomic nervous system. Pretty important stuff. 21% increase, 13%, 19% increase. Then we've got a stress index, and you want that to go down. And here is, it went down by 61 points well, anyway, all of these things are so encouraging after just 11 minutes of a particular. I chose gamma because it's a little bit more broad spectrum, a little higher order neurologically. And then here, this is, talk about marketing, Dorothy, biological age. We saw a remarkable shift, the biological age going down after 11 minutes, going down by, are you kidding me? Like 4 years younger, 2 years younger, 6 years younger, 3 years younger in biological age, which is not chronological age. So we measured the biological age before, ran 11-minute gamma, and then did another extrapolation biological age after with the device. And in 95% of the people, the biological age went down that quickly. So when you put it all together, you see, oh, this stuff really works. It's like, wow, wow. So there's that. And, we'll be putting this out. Mike and I are organizing documentation. I'm making one big single document that captures the essence of different studies. This is one we did in SoCal almost 2 years ago. This is a very exciting one that we just finished up in Latvia in Eastern Europe. Very cool, amazing stuff. I'll skip the details because, well, we'll return to it if you want. And here I've got one, the psychology department at the University of South Carolina wants to do a protracted study on psychological indices using the NeuroVIZR. We're turning the corner. These things all take time and money, and the indications so far are very, very encouraging. So the science will be using more of some of these metrics in the marketing because, you know, I don't know. I kind of love the idea. Get younger in 11 minutes. And the thing is, well, I mean, I'm just using this high-level medical device, and it says your biological age just went down 2, 3, 4 years. And I would expect using it regularly sounds like a good idea. So there you go. What else? I have a few other questions on the paper, but I'm also wanting to interact with you. You've taken the effort to be here. Thank you. Robin?
Can I ask another quick question? Sometimes I'm curious if, like if I'm feeling very stressed, I will often use the gamma, but sometimes I really want to try to drift into more of a nap state, like a deeper rest. Is that when I might move to the brain entrainment and do like delta or theta for a deeper rest state?
I put the brain entrainment in because that's pretty much the only thing that people know. And and you know, I'm working in brain engagement, which is dynamic, built for change, and brain entrainment. You know, it isolates down. Brain entrainment is really not effective in triggering neuroplastic change, and I mean, that's not good or bad. Neurologically, brain engagement is not entirely, because you can't really separate them, but it is primarily bottom-up neurological stimulation. Brain entrainment is a top-down neurological information process. And it's all, as is guided imagery, for example, that's neurologically top-down. So the concept is provoking the brain into dealing with novelty and surprise and change is very, very, very different than working to superimpose a limited activity. Brain entrainment limits.
Okay. Wow. I didn't realize.
Engages dynamic change. So that, you know, the frequency following response was noted in like the early 1930s. The equipment was shit, and it was hard, and nobody really knew what to do with it. So it kind of sat on the shelf for, I know I swear once in a while, Dorothy, I apologize. But that and it wasn't until the late 60s, early 70s that there was a stimulation back into it. One is there was some equipment that could work. It was still analog, and it was hard to work with and not so good. But the idea is, you know, there was so much romance at that time, late 70s, early 80s. I was involved in the technology at the time, and you know, it was the Alpha Satori thing, where, oh, you know, Alpha is instant meditation, and you know, all of that, and I mean, it's not a lie. It's only partly truth, and there's a lot of overinflated expectation. So, you know, brain entrainment. You have to be very careful because the studies show you that it works in a certain way, but the studies use very crisp, typically not very attractive stimulation. But then in the popularized or consumer versions of things, oftentimes, oh, you know, yes, I don't want to get asked about binaural beats ever again in my life, but yeah, you know, that you can take a Celtic harp and a bunch of stream sounds and birds, and you can do some binaurals in there. People use binaurals not because they work the best. It's because they're the easiest to use. They're the less irritating. It's been well known that isochronics work a lot better than binaurals, but isochronics can just like irritate the shit out. It's like, "Ning, ning, 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 ning." No, stop,
Yeah.
please. So it takes craft or artistry to use isochronics and binaurals and monaurals, which is what I do, but I weave them in such a way that they're kind of, you know, they're there, but they're like the background singers. The mood framing is more dominant. Okay, I'm sort of going around. If you want to chill out,
Mhm.
you can use a typical lower frequency brain entrainment. It takes longer, and the brain is affected. Normally, for the first, the point is the signals have to be clear and crisp to get a good effect. Just because you've got a binaural in there somewhere doesn't mean you're going to have a neurological response to it. You might just like the fact that it's, I don't know, a flute playing or something. Just the flute by itself might be calming enough. So the in brain entrainment, if the signal is good, and it isn't always good, it might be pleasant sound, but it may not be good brain signaling, then there's this, it takes around 6 to 8 minutes. It's called superpositioning or superimposition, pardon me, superimposition, where the signal is like taking the brain's foot and tapping it. The brain is not tapping its own foot yet. The signal is imposing itself on the brain. And then after a while, it's like the brain kind of gets it, and the brain will then follow the frequency and will begin to generate the frequency. But notice it's a frequency following response, that the brain is subservient to the signal. And after a while, the brain will kind of keep tapping its foot. And when you withdraw the music, if you know what I mean, you may have that tapping go on, but it declines pretty quickly. And so it is really so when I put them in, I would just straight, here it is, you want it, you got it.
It sounds like that you're saying, though, there's maybe more bang for your buck in terms of brain engagement in a different kind of program.
Well, it's faster. I
Yeah.
can tell you that. And it's a little bit more instructive to the brain. So, bit by bit, you can take a better nap faster because your actually brain is learning it. It's a mix of destabilization, introduction, reward, reinforcement, conflict. It's actually a lesson in
Oh, interesting.
napping.
So would that be like the stress programs for the nap, or?
Let's look at it pretty straight ahead. There's this thing called better sleep. And
Uh-huh.
the better sleep, there are 3 elements in there, basically, even though there are 4 time zones. The one, first thing in the morning, it's called phase forward. Whether it's the NeuroVIZR or sunshine or, I don't know, a flashbulb, whatever, if you get light early in the morning, it's called a circadian phase forward. It tends to promote you feeling sleepy earlier in the evening. So if you get sleepy at 11 and you start having early morning light, you will start to feel sleepy not at 11, maybe 10:30, and you keep on doing it. You start to feel sleepy around 10. It doesn't go all the way down like, forever, but it's called a phase forward, which is weird because it kind of goes backwards. But that's what that is. Then
Mhm.
the ones after that, so that's a circadian mechanism early in the day. And plus there's brain signaling in there, so it's more than just light. It's information saturated light. So that's pretty cool. Then the ones during the day, they don't induce sleep. They are more sleep training. Many people cannot sleep at night because they hit the pillow at 100 miles an hour or 120 kilometers an hour, whatever. That too much sympathetic charge builds up during the day, and they don't know how to let go of the zing and the stress of the day. Well, these sessions are sleep, that basically they're like learning how to let go. Sleep Angel, which is a great one, could have been called Learn How to Let Go. I mean, I make up the names. It's not like they're DNA coded or something, or I have an angel that visits me and gives me names. I make them up. And I do my best to make up the names that are relative to the probable state of the session. So I said I like Sleep Angel because it was like a cool name. I kind of liked it, but it could be called Learning How to Let Go. Then you've got the early, especially the later evening. Those are more sleep induction, not sleep training, not circadian shifting. Those are more like a sleeping pill that, they will kind of make you, not really make, but they really move you towards a drowsy state. And, for most people, one session will do it. For, the hard heads that, maybe do it and then do it again. And in all likelihood, part of the way through the second one, you're gone. You might wake up, 5 hours later with the headset on. So, if you want to nap, try, I mean, poke around, but the sleep trainers are pretty good, especially if you got a buzz on. Do the habit buster first, and then the session. I pretty much guarantee you'll sleep longer than you wanted. So I don't know. You have to be careful there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we're okay. We're about 15 minutes fat. We're okay. Vlad, you're a great listener. Do you have anything to ask or say? If you haven't met Vlad before, he has a very, and by my opinion, a really fascinating multidisciplinary approach to performance and athletic training and all of that. So Vlad, what's going on, buddy? I don't hear you. You're on mute. We had that problem last time, remember? Okay. I don't know what's going to happen. He's going to join in a moment. Okay. Vlad, punch away. I'm going to do one more question. You ready? Or you want me on my phone? I hope the military has better tech than I do.
I'm here.
Oh, bravo, man. Okay, hi. You're there. Okay, hi.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm so excited
Yeah.
to meet you again. I have very fast rhythm, life rhythm, I would say. 5 cities, some lots of flights, lots of competitions.
Man, I don't know what you're saying. I hear you, but I can't catch the words. Can you help me there? Yeah.
Can you hear me like this?
Yes, let's try that. Speak a little bit more slowly. Perhaps that'll help.
Can you hear me like this? Thank you. Thank you for a great advice about heart rate variability, because it's our key parameter for recovery. As I do lots of how to say hard competitions and hard trainings. Last night, about 14 hours, I had ski short uphills.
Wow. Yeah.
And this morning, a year ago, I had running, how to say, intervals. For body, it's very difficult because after ski, you cannot run, or after run, you cannot ski. And you have, have to adapt very quickly. And your brain or your ego wants to stop you, saying, no, you cannot do it. It's dangerous, it's difficult, you cannot, but you feel like you're overcoming your brain or your ego and still pushing the limits. So for me, it's a very interesting experience. In the night ski and in the morning run, very difficult. And your advice about gamma gamma, I will try like right now, because we how to say we look every morning. We look and monitor our heart rate variability with Garmin.
Yes.
And now I'm at the zone. The zone is like this.
Yes.
But I'm now at the bottom of my heart rate variability zone. But I like when I'm at the top. When you're at the top, you are unstoppable. And this is a great experience when you feel yourself every morning, each morning at the top. So
Okay.
let's try gamma gamma right now after this Zoom session because I have a long, difficult day for today. Next, we made like a brochure in Russian about NeuroVIZR.
Fantastic, man.
Yeah,
Wow.
one of
Wow.
designer
Yeah.
in Almaty in Kazakhstan. She's a great girl. She had some creative sessions with NeuroVIZR and made it.
Dorothy, there's your inspiration. Come on. Okay. Vlad, is there any way that we could get at least a digital copy of that? I'm fascinated. I'm pleased.
I think yes, but it's in Russian.
I know, but that doesn't matter. It's an example of a very, positive and proactive approach to, using the device and helping other people.
She's a future designer. She designs. She creates some images or concepts about future, about 5 years later, 10 years later, and she uses it as an inspiration source.
Wow. Wow. Well, Dorothy, referring back to you, the concept of community, the there are so many lessons that we can share. Yeah, I'm the guy that knows a lot, the inventor, the whole thing, but that's a very limited attitude as to what we can all learn from each other. I'm an eager um student of Vlad. I'd love to know more about what he does in his point of view because he's bright and inventive, and it's not theory. Vlad, I think you put in again. I'll make sure to have Kamala, who here helps me organize my life, to reach out because I would like to spend more time knowing what you learn and what you do because you're really valuable. You're unique in that sense, and I admire.
People want to have the session in Russian with you. Some people here who doesn't speak English and cannot join this session, they want a session in Russian, and their time zone is 2 hours later than you.
Yeah.
So they have now, I would say, we have 11:50 as well, and they have 9:50. So if you have a possibility, some days later, we can organize a session with my translation.
Yes, I mean, come on, let's do it tomorrow. No, not exactly, but
This week, yes, next week.
okay, okay, that is yes, thank you, and I think that is exciting to me. I'm a very strong admirer of a great amount of Russian technology. That thing that I was showing, all this study. This is from the Dynamica, is the original Russian name, and it's been, branded differently. Okay, a little reminder again. Thank you, flash sale. If you want to have 20% off a NeuroVIZR, which is quite nice, use coffee 20 at the checkout. Thank you very much. Anyway, yeah, this is all out of a Russian device. They started it up in 68 because of requirements from the Navy and the submariners and divers. And it's an EKG style heart rate variability. There's a lot of extrapolated information that we can get off of it because it's electrical and not just the vascular. And I had a wonderful chance, Paula knows, I was involved with the scanner device and rhythm, the self-controlling energy neuro-adaptive regulator. We brought that into the US and we gave it, actually I gave it, thank you, a new name, called it the Interex. I'm so appreciative of the stuff. And even if do you know the Oberon series of devices, Vlad? Oberon, Oberon, that's a scary good system for assessment. Wow. So I have I have some sustained friendships with some of my Russian colleagues, from the past. So yeah, some kind of active relationship into that community. I'm all for it, Vlad. So let's do that. Let's please. Okay, so we've got, a kind of a fat 5 minutes left. Let me see if there's a question here that might be of interest. What's next for NeuroVIZR in 2025? Well, we're at a point where we want to, grow the company. We're a startup, so we go through the mountains and valleys of financial stability. That's obvious. If you've ever been in a startup, you have to have the stomach for it. So we have a very positive maturation of the app, the interface with the app that I'm leaning in. I have 3 or 4 other things I won't mention right now, but leaning into more scientific validation, more numbers, so that for those of us that do well with the validation in certain scientific approaches, we'll be building that more and more. That if you've been attentive to the app, we have this section called Lucid Music, because I've always been intrigued by the concept of drawing emergent implicit information out of music into light. And it is not simple disco. To go beep flash is so easy, and it's also very boring. The brain doesn't really, it likes it for a little while, then it gets bored because it's too predictable. I like the artistic element of that, and the aspect of automating algorithmically. I've been exploring that over the past more than a year. We're getting to the point now where it's very satisfying, and there's a lot of growth there. The thing of music is fascinating, obviously, for all of us in our own way, and to understand that there's no feeling in music. It's just vibrational patterns. That's all it is. The feeling of music happens in the mind of the person hearing the music. Feeling, it's an emergent property. And what elements in the music are capable of exciting these implicit experiences from explicit signals? And I'm very deeply interested in having some success there. So the light that comes as a consequence in lucid music, entirely different programming process from everything else that I do. The music is the boss. It starts there, and then I have to, like a dance choreographer, I have to express feeling states that actually come from the music. And the brain seems to celebrate that. It's like, I'll say it again, I love this shit. Right? It's just like, wow. And I'm working with more and more musicians and music producers. And, one of the things that happens is, a good number of them, whether they're producers or musicians, they cry because they experience the music in a way that is dimensionally expansive of their normal experience. And then when we look socially at what I'll call concerts, they're 90% theatrical now. Whether it's a big concert, a stadium, whatever, the quality of the music is pretty shit. I use the word again. That's technical. That's a technical term. It's shit music. Because you compare it to a studio recording, when you hear a band out in the open, okay, it kind of reminds you of the quality of the music, but it's more of an event. It's experience. It's a felt state, and the theatrical visuals are becoming more and more and more powerful. The DJ sets, which is a whole other kind of domain in electronic music with the DJ, that's really fun to musically. It's pretty primitive, but the concept of the visuals and what's capable now with all the LED screens and the laser lights and all. So I think, we're finally getting instruments of light that can collaborate equally with the instruments of sound. So I think that, that those two things together, there's a huge future there for us. And even though one seems like wellness and one seems like entertainment, my strong suspicion is that there will be a convergence, because I imagine, we'll call prehistorically, music was not for fun. Music was sacred. Music was evocative and provocative. And whether it's the chanting or the drumming or something, I think, the fun element was a far later social evolution. I think the sacredness of sound and light is probably a destined convergence with what we're doing with NeuroVIZR, and in the future with what we're calling Neuhead. I don't know. There you are. My folks are giving me the flash and bash, so we're rounding it out. Thank you for coming in and spending time. And Robin, I hope you're fast asleep by now. Vlad, we will reach out. Dorothy, we should talk more too, because I think you got a lot of gas in your tank. I can see that. Let's do. Paula, you always comfort me and remind me of longtime friendship. So thank you for being here. Okay. All right.
Bye.
Thank you.
5.
Thank you. Bye. We
2.
will.
All right. Bye-bye, folks.
Okay.
Mm.